What's the most justified crash out you've ever seen? My brother was a disabled war veteran whose wife died, giving birth to their triplets, and despite his PTSD, grief, and chronic pain, he stepped up like no one thought possible. For 22 years, he never missed a game or recital, even when his back was so bad he had to lie on the gym floor during halftime just to make it through. He worked 3 jobs and barely slept, but when his daughter Carmen wanted to be a dancer, he still watched YouTube videos at 4 a.m. so he could do her hair in a bun. When his son Michael got bullied, he stood outside that school every lunch break for a month, just so Michael could see him through the cafeteria window and know he wasn't alone. He even relearned algebra at 47, with a brain still foggy from PTSD meds, just to tutor his kids at the kitchen table every night. The man never bought himself new clothes, wore the same 6 shirts for a decade, his shoes held together with duct tape. But those kids had new cleats every season, prom dresses that cost 2 weeks' salary, and gaming computers for Christmas. He never dated either, saying his kids were enough. So when his 60th birthday came around, all he asked for was one thing: to take the train to New York with his kids and try real New York pizza. That's it, 3-hour ride. He'd been talking about it since they were little, how his army buddy from Brooklyn always said you haven't lived until you've had a slice from Joe's. The kids used to roll their eyes when he'd bring it up during dinner, but this year they promised. Carmen even made a whole plan in the family group chat about which train they'd take, how they'd spend the day in Central Park, then get pizza. Michael said he'd cleared his work schedule. James bought the train tickets and sent him the confirmation. My brother actually smiled for the first time in years. He even went to Goodwill and bought himself a new shirt for the trip. The morning of his birthday, he woke up at 5 a.m. like it was Christmas, shaved carefully, put on that new shirt, even tried to stand a little straighter despite his back screaming. He made himself breakfast for once instead of just coffee, humming some old army song. Got to the train station 45 minutes early because he was so excited. Bought 4 tickets even though James said he already had them, just in case there was confusion. He sat on the bench closest to the platform, checking his flip phone every 2 minutes. 7:45 came and went. The 8 a.m. train was boarding. He texted the group chat, "I'm here by track 3, with 3 smiley faces. It took him 5 minutes to find the emoji button. At 8:15, the train left without him. He called Carmen first, but it went straight to voicemail. Michael's phone rang, but nobody answered. James picked up on the 5th ring, said something about car trouble, then hung up before Dad could respond. He sat on that bench for 3 more hours. Other families walked past, laughing, taking their trips. A little kid dropped his ice cream, and his dad immediately bought him another one, and my brother just watched them, something breaking in his face. The station security guard asked if he was okay. That's when it happened. This man who buried his wife without shedding a tear in public, who'd been through war, who'd suffered in silence for 2 decades, just started sobbing, right there on the platform, shoulders shaking, trying to cover his face with his hands. An old woman sat next to him and patted his back while he cried 22 years worth of tears. He rode the train to New York with me, and we ate a slice at Joe's, but I could tell he was devastated. 3 days later, he was driving Carmen to the airport for her work trip. She was in the back seat on her phone the whole ride. 20 minutes in, he quietly said he'd gone to New York anyway, that the pizza was good. She laughed and didn't even look up. "Dad, you're being so dramatic lately. It's just pizza. We said we'd go another time." He gripped the steering wheel with those damaged hands and said nothing. At the departure gate, she asked for money for airport food. He gave her his last $40. A week later at Sunday dinner, all 3 kids were there, talking about their lives, their plans. Michael mentioned wanting to move into a bigger apartment. James complained about student loans. Carmen showed pictures from her trip. Not one person mentioned his birthday. Not one. He served them dinner like always, his back spasming as he carried the plates. Then Carmen said it. "Dad, you really need to stop this needy thing. We're adults. We have lives. You chose to have kids. We didn't ask to be born. You don't get a medal for doing what you're supposed to do." James nodded and said, "For real though, I was there when it happened," staring in pure disbelief. That's when my brother finally snapped. He stood up from the table, walked to his bedroom, and came back with something that made his kids drop to their knees and beg him to forgive them. Full story on channel linked below.